100% of Protestant or Catholic majority countries outside of Africa are highly functional democracies. 100%. 6% of Muslim majority countries are democracies.
Do they actually want to be democracies? I mean, we have a slightly quaint view in places like the UK that we are the exemplar for how a country should operate. When I was in Qatar, for example, for the World Cup, the Football World Cup, I met some of the high-ranking Qataris, including people who were related to the Emir, and they were kind of laughing at the idea that they would look at the UK as a template for how a society should exist, with our knife crime, our drug abuse, our
it's
drunkenness.
easy to say that.
I'm throwing it back at you. They were genuinely bemused. They were genuinely bemused that we would think here that somehow the way our country operates is the exemplar that they should be adopting.
It isn't necessarily the case that the denizens of the Islamic world look to progressive Western democracies as the ideal, but that turns out to be a problem if you're importing them en masse, because their fundamental predisposition might not be democratic, and yet they're in a democratic society. So it isn't obvious what to do about that. Okay, the next thing I would say is it's pretty bloody easy for the rich Muslim countries who are absolutely awash in, I would say, undeserved oil money to moralize about the superiority of their culture. I mean, the Wahhabis in Saudi Arabia were a little, fringe tribal cult before the West stupidly dumped $1 trillion on them and allowed them to propagandize the entire world. They would have been a backwoods Arab tribe lost in the desert forever if it wasn't for oil money.
So who should be the exemplar? Who is the one that is the ideal that we should look up to? Western culture and values, or the Muslim culture and values? Well, Western culture at least values life and values that people can make a choice in life. That's very important. Now, the fact that there's addiction, the fact that there's so many corruptions, absolutely, that's correct. That's what happens when you give freedom of choice, no doubt. Whereas in the Muslim countries, you don't have those freedoms. Everybody must follow a certain dictate of law, adherence in values and customs and the like. And if you don't fit in, is that the appropriate way? I would suggest that the ideal is not England, the United States, or for that matter, Qatar, that's for sure. But look at Israel. Wow. A democracy that has in it a couple million Muslims who they are have the same freedoms as Jews do, no difference. There's a Muslim that's on the Supreme Court of Israel. There is Muslims that are heads of universities. Everybody has an opportunity. It's something very unique. And at the same time, many of them are fighting against Israel for its destruction. Yet there's space for them. That might be very exemplary. Is there another place like that? I don't think so. Sometimes it might be too over the board, but over the line rather. But I think Israel's an exemplary place. Are there problems there? Absolutely. But it is unique, and they're in its effort to allow anybody and everybody to move ahead in life as they choose and to prosper not just materially, but spiritually too. I think that is the key. The key is not just material growth. So there's very strong Muslim countries who have a wealth of oil, and therefore they have progressed in economic standard. Have they progressed spiritually? Have they progressed morally? United States and other Western countries have freedom, absolutely. And yet I question if they have progressed spiritually, morally. I would suggest not necessarily. Where I do see it is in Israel. What do you think? I really think that spiritually, economically, morally, there isn't a place like it.